Easy people. So this one, as the title says, mixing and mastering isn't easy. And I'm going to have a little rant here. There's no quick ways, tricks really to doing this, and this hasn't got anything to do with the Akai Force. This has just got to do with mixing and mastering and how that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through how you would mix and master in a series. Actually, I'm going to take you through a series of these, a new series, I guess, of how you would mix and master on the Akai Force. I'm going to start with mixing, and then I'll go on to mastering after, obviously. The reason why I say there's no quick ways and shortcuts, kind of, because people get mixing and mastering mixed up. Well, they get mastering. They get it a bit confused. A lot of times people think mastering is making something louder, and it isn't. Mastering is trying to get fundamentally clarity so that the final version of whatever you're wanting other people to hear is clear as possible. So there isn't a one fix all, because it depends on the material, it depends on the type of music, it depends on what you're wanting to do with that. If you want it to be transparent, if you want it to colour the sound, if you're not wanting to colour the sound, about how you're going to make certain things louder. So there isn't a one fix all for that. So for example, if it's classical music, doesn't mean you want it to be loud. And again, like I say, loudness, there is a degree to trying to make things, it's not louder, it's clearer. That's what the truth is. So like back in the day, I used to do this car test where you play something and then you play something what's been released, and then you play something you've done on a tape when there used to be tapes in the car. And then you go, oh, why is that not sound right? And a lot of times it was because we just didn't know how to deal with compression, stuff like that. With all that said, I'm going to take you through a mixing example. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. And hopefully, if you follow along, which if you've got an Akai Force, you will be able to follow along. If you haven't, you'll still be able to pick up things. And if you've got an Akai Force, I'm going to use this kit here. Where is it? I had one, I'm going to have to do it again. I'm going to use this kit. I'm going to use a hip-hop kit, what I saw shines. And I'm just going to make a beat with that kit. So this one. So I'm going to use this one. And like I say, you can follow along and you'll be able to see what else I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this, because I'm gonna have one next to it so you can hear the difference between them in the different stages. And the first thing I'm going to do, just to make sure that they're balanced, is I'm going to take the maximizer out of both of them. So whatever we're working with, this is how this is, apart from anything else. If there's like, I don't know, an echo or something on a beat or on a sample, I'm just going to leave that. But fundamentally, the key to mastering is mixing. If you mix the levels right and you get all the levels right and try not to have things clipping, that's number one. Clipping means when it goes past note and it's redlining or anything like that. If you can have that, your master will be better. So if you're interested in mixing or mastering, full stop, you'll probably want to watch this. If you are for the Akai Force, you definitely want to watch this. Okay, here we go. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing doesn't go past note. If it does, and it will, right, what you're going to see, so for example, if I go that, what you're going to see is this line here, and what that is it's like a peak line, and what that's saying is that is the loudest this sound goes. Now this sounds fine because obviously it's below this line. This is like our ceiling line, and what we want to do is we want to try and get everything louder, as loud as possible, without hitting that ceiling line. Again, I'm simplifying lots of things, so if you're some engineer expert, then obviously you know. So anyway, never mind. Right, So the next thing I want to talk about is if you do go past that line, it's the duration of how long you go past that line, what the clipping affects. So for example, if it's just like that, right, really quick, right, then we just need to control that. Doesn't mean we need to turn everything down. We just need to make sure that whenever it hits that, there's a limit. There's a limit to things not going past that. The other thing what we want to try to do is we want to try to get the sound somewhere between this 9 here, this line here, and the top of here. And the reason why that is, again, simplifying, that's a good level of sound. And more importantly, that kind of level of sound won't affect Spotify and YouTube and stuff like that, so they won't end up turning it down. So you should have a good amount of clarity. I have a tendency to like things punchy and bassy. That's what I like. Whenever I listen to music, I like stuff where the kicks are really punchy and like the bass is subby, because that's the style I like. Some people like a more MIDI sound where it's more the mid-level and they don't really like the kicks being that dominant or snares being the dominant or whatever. Some people like a more toppy sound where they like just the high frequencies there. Again, I really like the bottom end cutting through. And again, like I said, horses for courses. I like that because I kind of come from a background when I've heard stuff in clubs and stuff like that. And even though the music I make isn't for clubs, I still like that kind of sound. So as opposed to maybe even, and I try and get it to a radio sound so that it'll sound all right across the board. But I do like the little kind of bottom end. So when I'm mixing stuff, that's probably what I'm leaning towards. I'm just saying that now. All right then. So I'm going to make a beat, and I'll just leave it all in so we can see how I'm making this beat. While I'm here, what I found is a great tip. Well, what I personally like anyway is going shift note when I'm on a drum kit and changing the bottom right of this to a tune. So there, that's on tune. And the reason being is I can have launch and note on at the same time, because I'm only going to be using anything else. What I'll do, I can manually fix by just, I don't know, doing it there if I need to. But I like that so that I can tune stuff. Okay. So I'm just going to just do a beat and see what's what. So knobs, screen, put me swinging because I like 56. Yeah, I'm just going to keep quantize on. Sometimes I don't, but I'm just keeping it simple. Here we go. See, I'm just going to make, let me check what the sounds are first. Right. Right, okay, I've got a gist of something. I don't know what it is, but it's not important. I'm going to change that metronome. It's just that I've had to swap over. Oh, good Lord. Oh, good Lord, undo. Is that still alright? Alright, cool. Yeah. I've had to swap over firmware, so. Okay. Okay, I think I'll do. So we've got a beat. I'll play it again. So you got a gist of it. So, what are the main dominant parts for me? I want the kick. I want the kick to come through. That bass, I want a bit more of that control and a bit more warmth to that. And I probably want more separation with the top parts. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go shift mixer, and I'm into the elements of this. So what's great about the Akai Force is I can just concentrate on the sounds that I know are playing. So I can go to settings and I can just say filter by events. So now the only things what I'm going to play are not the samples, what I'm not using. It's just only going to be the stuff I am. Right, that's great. So if I play this now. That's great. So instead of me having to swipe and back and forth and there's a bit more, there's some more stuff here, so I'll remember that. Not that it matters now because I can just press that and it'll automatically select it. But what's great about that now is I can go pan and volume, and that's where I want to go next. The difference between pan and volume is, well, it's got pan obviously, but additionally it's also got solo and mutes, and they come in really handy when you want to just isolate a sound to work on. So for me, what I would always do is I would initially start turning everything down what I don't need. They've mixed stuff and that's alright, that's what somebody came to a conclusion of and they like that. I'm not against that, but that isn't what I want to do it like. So the first thing I want to work on is that bass, because that's what I like. I want that bass to start coming right through, so it's there. So I'm going to just turn everything else down. Right, so that's alright, but the low frequencies aren't really there in my ears anyway, so let me deal with them first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at that compressor, because it's got a compressor on it, and see what that's doing. Yeah, that's all right. Anything else from ratio? I'll probably increase the ratio on that. And what that does is anything lower will get louder, anything louder will get lower. So that'll even out the sound in theory. So this is with it off. This is with it on. Now, I don't know if you can notice, but there's a little, like, attack. There's a little attack. At the moment, a lot of things like this are really quite subtle. So it's really hard to kind of describe. You're just going to know it as it picks up. So, all right then. The thing what I want to do is I want a bit more warmth. So there's two schools of thought on this. You can either EQ and compress the signal, or you can compress the signal and then EQ. I always go EQ and then compressor, because it means if the signal gets too loud, the compressor will come in and turn it down. You can lose some of the, in theory, you can lose some of the dynamics by compressing it after an EQ. But again, use your ears. So I'm going to go and I'm going to, in fact, you know what, I'm going to make my life even easier, because I just remembered there is little quick tricks that you can do. If I use the air channel strip, that's both got a compressor, gate and EQ on there. So the signal what they have, ironically, is how I would do it. They've got the EQ and then they've got a compressor afterwards. So it goes through the EQ and then the compressor. The other reason why I'd use this and why this is good is it shows you the signal going in and it shows you the signal going out. You always want to keep an eye on the out, because you want that out to be lower than naught. And as long as that signal is lower than naught, it means that you're not adding anything more what's going to clip the overall sound in theory. It's not as straightforward as that, but I'm just again, like I say, simplifying things. So let's go to here, and what we can do is, and I always do this, have a look. Is there anything there? So there's a bass, it says control, so let's see what that does. Standard, and that's all there is, there's only that option. Alright, that's already done some niceness to it. For me, definitely. So this is with it off. This is with it on. So that's already sounds chunky to me. And what's good about that is I can see there it's not clipping. So it's brought up that level, and it's EQ'd all the bottom end, but it's only minus 4, which works for me. So alright, so let's go back to the mixer, and I'm going to bring up the kick next to it because that's the next thing I want. So that's the kick there. So I'll bring up that kick. So I'm just going to bring that right up there. So that's quite a woody kick, and there's no wrong with that. Again, a roundness to it. So what I could do is, I think what I'm going to do, normally I would do an attack and have the attack cut through, but I think that's quite punchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another channel strip on this one. I'll see what that does. See what they have, and I'm going to go with a bus and see what they have underneath the bus, right? So that they haven't got anything there, because you know sometimes it's just quicker. No. Sometimes it's quicker. No. Okay, then alright, then I'll manually deal with this. So what I want is I want to make sure the threshold, so that whatever I'm going to do isn't going to go past a certain point. So we'll start with 6. So if I look at this now, what it's telling me it's going to go to -2. Okay, so let's go into the EQ, and I'm not so bothered about the top. So it doesn't have to, it's not really doing any harm, so I'm going to just leave that. The mid I think is alright. I'm more bothered about the bottom end, so I might actually carve some of that mid. Right, there's 3 types of settings on an EQ. You have the gain, how loud or how quiet it is. You have the frequency, where in the range of the sound that sound is, and you have the Q. Now the Q is how broad that frequency is. I personally always like a high Q, because what happens with a high Q is it comes in really, really sharp, so I can target an area of a frequency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go full blast on this just to show what will happen. Right, and then I'm going to turn up this, and now I'm going to start, you'll start to notice there's going to be a little spike, and I'm going to use this to sweep through the frequencies, and you'll hear this kick start changing. You probably can hear the sound, and this is a thing what I wanted to explain here. Hopefully this sidechain has been kicking in and you've been able to hear me speak. This is where you have to kind of make considerations. Do I want to change the color of this sound? I'm not bothered, because it sounds woody and I kind of want it a bit more subby. But you have to be careful, because if you do start adding EQ and stuff, you're kind of heightening other frequencies, and you have to say to yourself, is that what I want to do? Because it'll change the flavor of the sound. So keep that in mind. So you can probably hear that now. So what I want to do is I want it more subby, so I want to take away them frequencies. In fact, let me do it a proper old school way. So what you would do is you turn up the frequencies there, find the frequency you don't like, I don't know, say this knocking one, and then minus it. So this is with this frequency in, and this is with it out. So now I want more subby. Again, a lot of times these things are mad subtle. And I'm going to move this frequency a bit lower so that it's more in the sub. So this is what I've done with this EQ now. So this is with the EQ. So depending on what headphones and what you're listening to this through, you'll probably hear it's a bit more subby. I would probably advise you probably want to do this on headphones. But if you've got decent speakers, you'll be able to hear what I'm doing. I've got my kick and my snare, kick and my bass. Okay. Are they clipping? Well, I don't know. Let's have a look. So they don't appear to be clipping here, which is interesting. No, they're not clipping. That's quite cool. Okay, and I'm surprised actually, but I thought they would be clipping. Oh well, that's good. So we'll keep going. I'll tell you what, I'll copy this over to here because I already know I've got sound there, Anna. So I'll play the other one and let me solo that, and I'll solo that. So let me mute everything. So where's that bass? There. So this is the bass what I have at the moment, right, and this is what I've done to it. So like I said, because of the way I like sounds, you may or may not notice the difference there, but that's more like bassy. So the other one's more mid. All right then, let's keep going. Let me go back to this. Okay. So let's get the snare up now, because this is going to be a hip hop type tune. So what I want is I want all the snare and all the drums to be strong, because that's what kind of tune it is. We want all the drums to be okay. That's all right, but we can clean even this up, and little subtleties like this really help. So what I can do, do you know what? These are kind of things where there's different ways around dealing with something, and because I want to conserve a lot of, even though, and I'll show you, even though I'm not taking up hardly any CPU, I am always conscious about, like, what can I do with a sound. So for example, this sound here, it's got a bit of bass on it, so I could EQ that out, but it's even easier than that, because I can go into this drum program and I can just use the filters, and this has got a whole heap of filters, loads. The only one I want is I want a high one, but there's quite a few, and each one of these has got, how can I explain it? you've got different kind of filter cutoffs, and the shape of the filter cutoffs on the bottom end. So this is the bottom end. Say it's like this. That's the top end, and this is the bottom end, right? The different types of curves basically let different levels of bass in different frequencies cut through. I wish I knew a simpler way of explaining that. They do different sound. They sound different, basically. That's what it is. They just cut off different frequencies from the high frequencies. So, for example, this cuts off, I can never remember if the higher number cuts off more or less, but they cut off different levels of the bass frequency. So that seems to be a lot more sharper. And just to show you that that's working, watch. And the reason why I would do that is because if I can cut off a lot of the low frequencies, it means there's a lot of frequencies that are clashing, and that makes the sound clearer. So let's see. So this is with it on, and I remember number 6. Now, again, depending on your ears, you might notice that. You might not. I don't know. So I said 6. All right. Another thing, what I might do is I might add a transient to that. So now it's kind of starting to clack a bit there. So as you can see, still below 0. So that's all right. What we'll do is we'll add a transient, and transient here kind of, you can just check. The best way I'd say is you can make things more snappy or less snappy. That's an easy way of me saying it. So I want to make this a little bit more snappy, even though look, the limiter's cutting in. And another mental note that you want to keep in mind is the transient has a limiter on it, which is pretty good. So this is already limited here, so I probably don't want to do anything with this. Let's see. I don't think I need to do anything with this, but let's see. Alright. So that's a bit more snappy, but now I want to turn that down because that's probably going to cut. Let's have a look. It's probably it. Alright. Wow. So let's have a look again then. We might even be able to bring that up even more. Right. So this is with it on. This is with it off. Now, you may or may not notice that that's got a little more of a sharpness to it. So, alright, so we've got that. That's sounding alright, I guess. Let's get some of the rest of this stuff in now. So, I don't even know what they are. Right, that's a one-off sound. Oh no, hi-hats. Is that a hi-hat? Okay, cool. So we'll deal with this. I'm going to deal with this in the same way as I did with the snare. In that I'm going to use the filter, and then what I'm going to... No, I'm not. I'm just going to go and I'm going to add... Again, I'm going to add a channel strip. I have to say, I do like these channel strips because they do a lot. They do a lot of things. What would be nice, I think, is... Well, it's not even that important, really. If it had a low cut-off, that would be nice, but it doesn't. Right, so I'm going to turn all the gain down on that hi-hat. Actually, do you know something? I've just realised this is a high pass filter. I always get these mixed up. High pass filter and low pass filter. The low pass filter makes everything low pass. High pass filter makes everything high pass. So if I'm right, that way around it should cut it. Is that right? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be. I can never remember which way around this is, so I'm just going to cut all these frequencies and I'll work out from there. Bring this up. Alright, okay. Oh, I know that's working. Okay, so the other thing what I'll do is I'm going to pan this now. So let's go back in here and we'll have this come out. Oh, that's the snare. Well, that's alright. We'll pan the snare anyway, that'll be nice. Okay. We'll have that on that side. So we've got the hi-hat there. What would be nice is if you could copy these effects across, but it is what it is. So I think we'll bring that up. Alright. And that stopped because it went to the end of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 999. Alright, and then it won't do that. Okay. So that's got a load of bass on that. So I'm just going to clear that, and then I'm going to put some compression on there as well. Because that's got a load of bass on that. I don't like. So we'll filter that. Bit more. Yeah, something like that. I think that sounds alright. Might not even compress that. Sometimes if something sounds right, don't harm it unless you need to. That's my belief anyway. Okay. I think that's alright, but just for the sake of argument, I'll EQ this. And you know what? Out of sheer curiosity, because normally I might use an EQ separate and a compressor separate, but I've realised the only thing I'm missing here is the filter. So do you know what I'll do is I'm going to carry on. So let's do another channel strip in this. No, that's not it. So I'll clear that. I'm on the wrong channel. Where's that? Hi-hat there. So go here. I'm really liking this channel strip stuff. I am feeling it. Now let me check if I'm right. Right. I'm not quite sure. I think that is a high cutoff. I think it's the other way around. It must be. Alright. So I think some of the bass off of there. And do you know what? I don't think there's any issue with that. I'll go back to there and I'll solo. Let's have a solo. That just feels alright. Okay. So far, no red lights. Amazing. Right. Probably when we get these piano sounds in. Ew. Right. So we need some of the bass on this. Okay. Again, A lot of times, what I'm noticing, because we're using a drum program, straight away in my brain, I'm realizing, is that the right one? I can just use a filter. Yeah, I can just use one of these filters. So that's already filtered there, but I'm going to use a higher one. I think the higher ones are a bit more sharp on the curve. Yeah, they are. So I'll use some resonance just to point that through. Okay. That seems fine. So let's keep going. So now there's two things here. There's bass and a top bit. So I kind of like that bassy bit a bit at the same time. So what I might do, is I might do a mixture of both and do a curve. So keep the top part, but keep that bassy bit because I quite like that. So I think I'm going to do a channel strip, and I think I did see something here. So there was a smiley one somewhere here. Right, beefy smiley. What that means is it's going to be bassy, and then it's going to cut off the middle part, and the top end is going to be toppy, which gives it a smile. So in theory, this is what it should be. So yeah, as it's covered out there. So you can probably hear there's more of bass there. Like if I turn this off, that's more MIDI. I'm going to do a bit more curve into that, and I'll bring it up. Yeah, and a bit more bass and bring it up. That's it. Quite sure what that high pass filter's doing. It doesn't even seem like it's switched on in my ears anyway. So we have that as a poster. Okay, so what we're looking at now, and is there more? Oh, there's more. So the bass can get out of that as well. So I'm going to filter that. Seems alright there. A lot of times, sometimes you don't even... That's right. Sometimes you don't need to even do a lot of EQing. Again, okay, we can clear some of that bass. I'm going to even kill some of the bass on that filter, but on that by using a filter. This is where sometimes, like I say, there's no one fix all. Sometimes it can be just easy, simple things like, because I'm using a drum program, I can just use this filter, because if I find the sound all right and I don't want to EQ the top of the sound or anything like that, it can just be a case of getting rid of anything where the bass bits are going to annoy me. That'll just bring it up a little bit. So I don't mind that. That's fine, that. So we got another piano thing there. Here we go. So I'll bring that down a bit. Okay. So I think that's mixed all right. I'm going to keep that as is just to show you something. So if I go here and I add, and I probably don't want to add it there. Yeah, I'll add it here. It doesn't really matter at the moment. Right, I'm adding this transient. The only thing I'm not going to do with this transient is I'm not going to add anything to it. The reason being is I'm going to use the limiter. So the limiter is going to control that peak. So when I play this, there I can see this limiter's hitting in, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that wherever it hits is slightly underneath that. So I'm going to keep bringing it down until I get, in fact I'll do it the other way around. I'm going to wait, and because it's just that bass. So right, so that's 0.4. I'm going to get it higher. 2, see how high I can get it. I can get it higher than that. I don't think, because it's just only momentary. It's only momentarily when that bass beat comes in. So let's see, is that enough? Is that enough to help it? Yeah, there we go. So now that's hitting -8. And everything's in here. And if we look at this other tune, I'm going to play the other tune. I'm going to put it on mute at the moment, so it's not playing through, but the signal should come through. So if you look at this now, you can see mine is it's all in green, it's all coming through, where this is red lighting, and I'd have to turn it down. So let's see how much I'd have to turn it down by to get the same effect. Let me put that back to 0. Is that back at 0? No, that's plus 0. That's not right. This is how much I'd have to turn it down to before it was right. Still clipping, so I have to keep turning it down. Right, bring it up. See. It's the bass what's probably going to do it, the bass right there, so that should be alright, I think. Okay, so this is mine versus the one which is not mixed, and you'll be able to, and in theory you should be able to see the difference. I've been able to bring all of this up by just not only just sorting out the levels, but also getting rid of any bass frequencies what I needed. I did that in 2 different ways. I used a channel strip, which I would say is really a good catch-all. Like I said, there's no quick tricks, but there is some things what are really helpful. The channel strip does a lot of the job for you, because what I would normally do is I'd have an EQ and then a compressor, but because that's an EQ and compressor all in one go, it deals with a lot of it. The only thing what I see what's missing is the low pass. Well, the one what cuts off the bass, I always get it mixed up, and it didn't appear that the channel strip one was doing out to me that I could see. I'll have to have a look into that. But anyway, so it was a mixture of that. I did put some transients on, a little bit of compression here and there. So this is now at the same levels. I've had to turn that down to kind of get it in the same ballpark. So this is what it is without all of what I did, my shenanigans. And then with my shenanigans. So now I've got to that point, this is where it gets really good. I've got the transient in there. Now I can maximize that or enhance it. So maybe I'll do an enhancement first. I can use the enhancer and say, all right, I want it a bit more even groovier than that. So I've got an enhancer in there. And again, there's no laws against using a lot of this. These sometimes are good just separately. But I haven't really got one in mind. So let's try more transparency and see what that sounds like. Yeah, it's not doing up to me. Yeah, that's loud. Do you know what? To tell the truth, it's just not needed. I just don't think it's needed, to tell the truth. What I could just do is bring everything up by putting the maximizer on here. So, and I could probably EQ it a bit more. So I'll do a bit more EQ now. In fact, I will use the enhancer. What I'll do is I'll just enhance the areas that I want. So I'd say the high frequencies. I'm going to bring this down as well. So anything I add to it, I'm not messing about with. And what I might do is I might move the place where that is. Because at the moment, that transient, that limiter is ahead of that, where I'm going to mess with this. So it's probably going to have more clipping. So I'd move the transient limiter again to another position. But let's see. So we'll in fact we'll do that now because I've just said it. So I'm going to get rid of this and I'll remember 0.8, right, 0.8. I'll remember that. It's not going to be hard. I'll clear that. What would be nice is if you could move these, but it's all right. So I know it's clipping a bit. That's all right. I'm going to bring this down. In fact, I'm going to bring this down 0.8 because I can always turn it back up. I press shift so that I just get exactly to 8, right? And then I'm going to start adding some of the high frequencies. So what I'm saying is I'm going to turn this up right around this frequency. In fact, I'll try around the mids, and then these are going to try and find all the subtle harmonic, all the little subtle noises around that frequency, and it'll try and turn them up. So this is with it on. I don't know if you notice it's doing it. It's a bit wild, but. So this is with it on, this is with it off. So I'll bring that down a little bit more. The phase is where any sounds cross over each other. Or frequencies. I don't think there is any, but let's see. Yeah, that cancels some of them, so I wouldn't be using that. So now this should be clipping, and it is, and it's right up there. Look at where it's clipping, right up there. But yeah, so that's all right. It's only momentary. It's because it's the bass. I could turn down that bass, but I like the way that bass is, so I'll just go transient, and I'll control that again with that transient. I don't even know if I'll have to even turn it down as much, so let's see. We'll turn it down to 4. See what that's like. There we go. So again, here it is without. And here's what I've done. Okay, so we'll go on and we'll talk about how you could master this. Right, maybe. All right then. So hopefully that's been helpful, and until next time, and I'll catch you soon. So as always, like I always like to say, peace.